Shout out Big Steve.
Shout out Mikey B. We're back from Abu Dhabi. Well, not yet, almost. We're going to do a quick recap. Did I make money for UFC Abu Dhabi? Did I make money on UAE Warriors and all the other MMA this week? No, I did not this week, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it. I didn't really lose that much. We'll go over the issues, the positives, the negatives, what I'm up for the month and what I'm up for the year. And yeah, we'll get to it. All right, won't spend too much time. Just a quick little recap-a-roo. Alrighty, so this week there was a lot of UAE, a lot of Arab stuff. Obviously, UAE Warriors. I had no bets. There was a couple of bets that I should have locked in, and mainly this one right here, the main event: Sylvester Chapumbu versus Al Akasi. I know Al Akasi, man. I faded him in the UFC against some bad fighters, Kelly and whatnot. And I didn't even know this African dude, and the gut was like, this has to be wide. And he 50-45'd him. I didn't even tape it. Those ones are the worst when your gut says this is a play and you don't even know who this fighter is. But unfortunately, I didn't tape it. I taped like both of these other cards and had no plays. And the plays that my gut spoke to me, I didn't play it. So right off the bat this week, my taping wasn't the best. You're not gonna tape every single thing. There's a lot of UFC. There's a lot of everything regionals, and when you're locked in and you know how to move on from fights quickly or know which regionals to focus on, that's the best results. This week, I felt I was a bit off, This was early in the week. I tried to get some UAE done, didn't do it, didn't tape the one fight I had to read on, and, so whatever. But it doesn't matter because it's early in the week. And there wasn't much else on, right? After UAE Warriors, was there anything else on? There was LFA and there was Ryzen, which is on right now. We'll chat about that soon enough, but let's go through the UFC like right off the bat. There was a bunch of boxing, and I didn't really like much, and it was just kind of like not the biggest boxing weekend, but it was just kind of let's get my reads, Carrington Banks and Zayal or whatever the hell his name is, this Puerto Rican kid that became the champ. Just there wasn't much value on their fights, but I just got some insight, right? 6 round. Al Quasi sniffer so bad. Yeah, Al Quasi's awful, man. That hurt. Watching that fight, 50-45, I was like, can't believe I didn't tape this one. Aussie, bookies cleaned up this week. Well, yeah, I'd like to think more on others than me, but yeah, I should have profited, but we'll get into that. We'll talk about it right now. All right, so the UFC, I lost $284, half a unit, and it was a tough card. It upset me how tough for betting it was because we just came off a card pay-per-view that was really, really easy to make reads, and I didn't even make 2 units. So I was like, right away, I'm like, oh, it's tough. These fights are tough right here. There's top to bottom. There's not much value. But, all I need is two units. My goal was 2 units minimum. So we're going to Budai Buchecha, and I'm like, this is my first bet. I had a unit on Buchecha, and look, it looked like a bad bet, honestly. In terms of what I could have done better, I honestly thought about Buchecha round 1 and 2 for half a unit, so I don't lose a full $600. But I literally said to myself, I'd give Buchecha decision equity even if he's gassed, right? Because what he did against Omar Kane, Rug in 1FC, he still got a takedown in round 2, was ground and pounding him out. He got a takedown and back control in round 3 against Umar Kane. I consider Umar Kane better than Budai. And we just saw it. He lost round 1 to Budai. You would think a fresh Buchecha would win, round 1 against Budai, pretty high clip. Lost round 1, won round 2. He almost won round 3. Took the back of Budai, extremely gassed, and it was just riding him, pounding him. And, you could make the argument. I'm surprised it wasn't really a split decision, but not much else happened in that round other than, Buchecha failing takedowns. But whatever, square bet. The other thing I was going to do was just put half a unit on Buchecha and another parlay piece, which for me was going to be Liao. There really wasn't many parlay pieces for me, so yeah, I didn't go big. I didn't go 2 units. Something was stopping me from going 2 units on Buchecha. Like, it was the same line as Kali Jadis, and that was easily 2 units, and I could have argued even higher. So there was an air of, heavyweight UFC debut for Buchecha. He looked good, but, Budai is still a big boy. He's got a jiu-jitsu background if he can survive. So I lost the unit. I lost the unit there, but could have been worse. I could have gone bigger. I could have. I thought about adding, another half unit on Buchecha with a parlay, but I was like, no, let's not get greedy. And what I did ultimately was add $50 on Buchecha round 1 and 2 KO. I had like $11. Basically, last good grappler that he faced, a black belt in 1FC, he pounded him out. Rug, he couldn't really sniff a submission. He was pounding him out in round 2 from mount. So I thought, Martin Budai, he's big enough to survive, defend the arm bars, the chokes, and because he's fat, if he's going to lose via a finish, he'll probably be like a ground and pound KO. So yeah, so I lost $655 there. No regrets, no regrets. Maybe I could have gone round 1 and 2 Buchecha and only lose 300 instead of 600. I always like to negate my risk, and I don't like to start off losing big on the first fight of the night, especially when I woke up at 2 a.m. for this. But yeah, no regrets, because if Buchecha won the decision by winning round 3, squeaking out round 3, I would have been upset that I lost half a unit on round 1, round 2. So no regrets. It is what it is. You take a swing sometimes you whiff, sometimes you get it right. Alrighty. 6 round, rough card for all. Yeah. My read on Buchecha couldn't have been more wrong. He probably could have won the decision, but was big on the inside of the distance. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think what I should have taken more into consideration was the octagon jitters, because Buchecha has better. He usually has better cardio than freaking 3 minutes. He was already blowing hard for like halfway through round 1, and Budai is not someone that gasses you out. He's an exister. He just exists, and people lose close split decisions. What's crazy to me is Budai is 7-1 in the UFC. Wow, what a world we live in. Lial can fight Kevin Holland for biggest parlay buster. Alrighty, Stephen Wynn versus Muhammad Yahya. So it didn't really take this one too much. I just caught it a little bit before the card started. It was like 2 a.m. I barely had any sleep. I got home at 11, went to bed at midnight. I caught a little bit of this fight, and I was like, wow. My original lean was Stephen Wynn KO, and I was going to look at some unders. And, after a little bit of tape, I'm like, wow, Stephen is bad. He might beat Yahya, but I don't know who else is he going to beat in the UFC, honestly. And I honestly considered Yahya. And yeah, Stephen came out, beat the shit out of him pretty much from start to finish. Brutal non-stoppage by Herzog. It was hard to watch, actually. And yeah, I mean, Yahya still dropped him. So Stephen is a fade, 33 years of age. That's the finished product. He's not good. You could argue that maybe his current day UFC level, with how low level the UFC currently is. But yeah, I mean, he's 1-1. I don't know who they can give him that's potentially worse. So nothing there, but I was like, I lost a little bit of value there. There was some unders. Apparently, the under 2.5 was pick 'em. Oh well, it is what it is. We'll move on. I'm not too fast right now. I'm $650 down. Not the end of the world. 1 unit. Bilal Akana, Ebo Arslan. This was a really tough fight to get a read on. Again, like I didn't want to play Ebo at $1.40, but I also felt like he should run through Billy. And then I'm like, I don't want to play the under. I said on the podcast, Billy, runs away. Plus, he's durable. Ebo is also durable. He's flaked to people like Kudalaba, but he went over against Pleasure Man, and yeah, just a weird fight. And then I was like, I really like the over before the fight started, but because it's such a mess of a fight, like all the heavyweight and light heavyweight fights on this card were messes. I just passed, and obviously watching that bothered me. Like that cruised over, like that was just horrible. That reminded me of Kudalaba versus Bukaskis. And the only other thing that bothered me in this fight was that I didn't live bet Billy. So after round 2, it was my gut was telling me it's 2-0 for Billy. And the line was at Pick'em. And I was like, oh, this is, I woke up at 2 a.m. for a reason, because generally Abu Dhabi live betting is quite good. But again, the second fight that I'm up for, I only had 1 hour of sleep. I was a bit dusty. It was such a boring fight. I was like, please, I only just woke up and you're putting me back to sleep straight away. Like too early in the card. So I was like, but I wasn't brave enough. And then I didn't bet it. And, 30-27 for Billy. That fight with Kudalaba versus Bukaska scared me away. Everyone thought Kudalaba was winning clean, but the judges didn't see it that way because it was such a boring fight. You can get away with giving a robbery in that fight because no one's paying attention, and probably the judges are not paying attention, and no one gives a shit. It's so boring that you could get away with giving the rounds to anyone. But yeah, should have gone half a unit there and reduced my stake, but it is what it is. I didn't. Another one. This one really bothered me because I actually like Tabitha Ricci money line. I like the money line, and I was just like, I don't understand this mush. What's with the consistent money on Amanda Ribas? She's not trustworthy. Like I know Tabitha Ricci is a close decision merchant, but she's a decent sized underdog, and Ribas is going to win this 29-28 at best. And just watching her last 2 fights, her trajectory seems to be steadily going down. losing to Dern, who she rinsed the first time, getting submitted by Dern. Yeah, she's really, really gone downhill. And I was like, I want to play it, but I don't because, again, as I mentioned, Tabitha Ricci's path is a scrappy 29-28. And then I really like the plus 3.5 handicap, which I don't usually like, but that one really stuck out. And it was better than minus 200. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. And, one of the lads, new guy to the Discord, I forgot his name now. Dylan, I think Dylan is his name. Dealy, whatever. Sorry, bro. Dylan, if I got your name wrong, he played it, and I was like, yeah, all right, that I should play that. But then I just got in my own head, what if it's a 30-27 for Rebus, because she could technically get a 30-27. But yeah, watching that fight, I'm like, oh, Ricci's just rinsing her. She might even win, and the KO happens. I was like, oh, there's another one. There's another one. Back-to-back reads, but no one wants to hear about you complaining about reads. So I was like, let's just move on and get out of this hole, right? Davy Grant, Blackshear. I really like the under here, but I was like, I've lost so much money on Davy Grant unders, and I only put $50 on Blackshear round 3 sub. Happy with that. I didn't lose half a unit, but obviously not really close outside of maybe Damon round 1. Props to Grant backers. I liked him as well. I said, man, I like this dog as well. I didn't pull the trigger. I mean, I just thought the takedowns would maybe come a little bit easier in round 2 and 3. But props to Davey, really, really solid takedown defense. He was losing to Rafael Assunção because of his takedown defense, but it was much improved here against the better wrestler, I would say. So props to Davey. The man keeps on going. The man keeps on cashing checks. He's a huge dog. We'll see how long this can keep going, right? Muslim Salikov versus Kalistel. So here we go. Like, other than Buchecha, this is like my only proper bet. I had $450 on Carlos Leal, a Muslim fight to end in round 1 and 2. Now, probably would have parlayed Leal with Buchecha if I didn't really put a whole unit on Marcus. And I was kind of saved, but same shit. It would have been better if I did that. I only would have lost half a unit on that parlay. That kind of saved me, and because there was nothing else to parlay on this card, that kind of saved me. Kind of same as last week with Trailblazer. I was going to chase. I was going to put Trailblazer in some stupid parlay, but again, my better instincts of not being a complete square said, just don't do it. Don't be an idiot. There's nothing there. Don't force it. And a lot of people played Leal KO, and it made sense because Leal is insanely durable. But Muslim Salikov cracks. It's like he's also insanely hittable, and it's like at some point you can only walk into so many punches, so many overhand rights, so many wheel kicks before you get knocked out. So, oh man, I ended up adding a bit more. So because I looked at the card top to bottom, and I'm like, that's it. After this bet, I don't have anything else other than a money line on Marcus McGee, which felt a little bit forced, right? And I'm like, I'm going to have to, I don't know what I'm going to get myself out of the Buchecha hole with if I don't go, if I only win half a unit on the hour. So I added another $150. So we ended up being $513 on the fight to end round 1 and 2, almost at pick'em, and to win $405. So that won within less than a minute, thanks to Muslim Salikov. Even better, I didn't care. Anyone could die there. As soon as Carlos Leal came out with rabies, I'm like, beautiful. I thought he was going to maybe grapple. I thought it was maybe going to be too patient, and Muslim was going to stick and move. But no, he came out aggressive, got himself knocked out for my bankroll. Props to you, Leal. And unfortunate for the boys that played a Leal KO, but that's just a good lesson, right? Don't get greedy. Leal KO was pick'em. Fight to end in round 1 and 2 was pick'em. It's like you have to give some of these other guys a chance, right? It's a volatile sport, a very volatile sport. Like Muslim can knock anyone out. We've just seen it. He pretty much knocked out Leal cold with one punch. So we see it all the time, man. We see it all the time. And I dodged the bullet there. Not long ago, I dodged the bullet with Fatima Klein inside the distance instead of playing the under 2.5 rounds, and he went over by 4 seconds. So I feel like we're into that period of MMA betting right now. Very crazy cards. Like the Twitter folks, they're getting absolutely rinsed. Rinsed this week, rinsed last week, because crazy shit is happening. And this is where you have to get really, really disciplined. This is where, I don't make too much money all year round, but my method, my style that I stick to, it shines in these cards. I rarely do crazy shit. Just keep it simple. Just play round 1 and 2. Don't just assume that Leal is the only one that can get a KO and stuff like that. So that got me $405, and now I'm only $300 down. So half a unit. I'm like, easy peasy. You know, I generally have a bad habit on good months, losing a lot of the profit on the last event. So I'm like, cool. If I lose half a unit on this, I'm Gucci. There's LFA coming up. I've got all morning to tape it. There's Rising coming up. I'll make half a unit back, no problem. Bryce Mitchell, Said Nurmagomedov. Right, this is the Twitter beef. You know, a lot of money on Bryce. I put it on my Twitter. Everyone thinks, you know, Bryce is going to maul Said just because he wrestles and Said gasses, or he's going to get, you know, ninja choked. But I didn't think it was going to be that obvious. And I think that's what happened. It wasn't that obvious. It was an extremely close fight. In my opinion, Said had the most dominant round. It was round one. He actually looked really good. He actually looked really good in round two. He didn't gas. He was scrambling quite well with Bryce. I thought Bryce just edged out round two by, you know, hitting like 2 takedowns, but there was 0 damage on either side. I think if Said like dropped him with a leg kick or something, or dropped him with stunned him with a jab, that would have been 2-0 for Said. And then round three, again, he almost hit a deep guillotine, got on top of him, got him out, and then just made that crucial error falling off the back. It's like, why would you grapple with Bryce Mitchell? And, you know, Carla Phillips does that stuff too. It's like when these guys gas, the great fighters, they just make that one error and it loses them the fight. So this is the other live bet. This was Pick'em after round two, and it was 1-1. And I'm like, I know it's a very competitive fight. I don't expect Bryce to run away with it in round three. But just for the fact that Said loses round three's high clip and he's a bit gassy, I should put half a unit. Again, that's another one that I didn't put on. So there hasn't been many live bets this card, and the ones that I do regret are Bryce Mitchell at Pick'em and Billy Alicano at Pick'em, both before round three. So I wasn't brave there. I didn't take advantage, but it is what it is. So, I mean, the whole purpose was to wake up at 3 a.m. to live bet, and I didn't do it. So now the main card starts, and this fight was extremely volatile. You know, Bogdan Guskov, I had people in my ear, you know, Krylov's value at minus 200. You know, he's going to sub him. But it's like minus 200. You just can't play Krylov minus 200. Doesn't matter. He's dropped the ball many times. Everyone loves to shit on Guskov, but the guy's better than, I don't know why people just hate this guy. He's in the ranking. You know, he got in the ranking by beating one of the worst guys, Ryan Spann, fair enough. But now he's knocked out Nikita Krylov, and, you know, say what you will, he's not a bum. He has very good hands, very good power. He's got that unique style where he throws from the hips. Yeah, that one, I kind of like the under there. I didn't play it. I wrote it in the Discord, and people were just making fun of me. You know, it's probably going to hit because I've been posting a lot of leans that were hitting, and I wasn't playing him, and that hit too. And I was like, damn. It's just like, you know, I'm still down 700, 300 from Buchecha, and then I clawed back from Leal. But it's like, got to pull the trigger, you know, got to pull the trigger on some of these things. But we move on. Let's go through the comments. Aussie Fight Fan, poor performance by Herzog. I haven't seen an SRP beating like Yaha. Yeah, that was rough. I feel like Herzog was trying to give his hometown guy every chance. Yeah, I think that's probably what it was. Pick'em fight and Bryce Weasel, just like Ige fight. Yeah, that was annoying. Like, again, the reason I didn't play Bryce like when everyone else did, especially on the line move, it's just because he's very weaselly, and I don't think Bryce is that great. I honestly think Bryce is in for a rude awakening at bantamweight. I think there's a lot tougher challenges. Like, for example, Dan Ige is in the ranking, and like Said is not even in the bantamweight ranking. And there's all these other tougher guys that Bryce is going to come up against on the way to the ranking, let alone when he gets to the top 15. So I don't know. It's the right weight class for him, but we'll see how he goes. Guskov losing every fight until his opponent just donates the victory to him. Yeah, I mean, it's time to stop donating, my friend. Time to come around on the Guskov train. Also on the buy of Jose Ochoa, I leaned Ochoa here, and, you know, based on like damage versus control, there was too much question marks on Ochoa. We had a little bit of them answered with the takedowns against Durden, but not enough. And it was enough for me just to pass. You know, I felt like I didn't really have an edge at Pick'em or a slight plus money. He looked good. Honestly, great submission defense, great get-ups. Neutralized Asu Mabayev a little bit in round one, and it kind of looked like he was going to break Asu, but, you know, I had my finger on the live button, and yeah, nothing happened. And props to Asu, man. 2 30-27s. I haven't seen his control being that good so far in the UFC. Like, he fought CJ Vergara and Jose Johnson. He got mounted there. He got reversed, got put in submission. So I think against one of the better fighters he's fought, Jose Ochoa, he had some of the best control. And actually, to get 3 rounds on 2 judges' scorecards just with sniffing, it's pretty good. And Ochoa's good, man. You can tell that he's good. He's just a little bit green. He could have done a little bit better there, but yeah. I did actually have a bet on here, a little bit more than half a unit. I had Jose Ochoa no scorecards. Basically, I just felt like Asu was going to grind him or Ochoa was going to finish, right? And if he wasn't going to finish, it was probably going to be a split. So yeah, obviously got my money back there. Sharon Magomedov, Marc-Andre Barriol. This was a rough one. I thought it was an unbettable fight. Like, tailor-made matchup for Shara, and I just couldn't pick whether he was going to knock him out or go to the decision. And I think there was a good pass. I think the KO had a decent amount of value, almost to the fact that even Barriol almost knocked out Shara. Like, not almost, but he broke his nose and just bloodied him up. Good fight. But yeah, I would have been extremely tilted if I played that KO. And so good pass all around. Peter Yan, so I had a bet here. I had a full unit of Marcus McGee, and yeah, so $600 to win almost 2K. Probably rushed that one a bit. As I mentioned, this felt like a pay-per-view. And, we had Robert Whittaker taking steam, like typical pay-per-view. We had Peter Yan obviously going in everyone's parlays, even though there was no value at $1.30, whatever it was, people would still parlay him. And it felt like, I bet it like halfway through the week and no money was coming on McGee, even though sharp people were playing him. So I was like, I should have waited out a little bit, because the next day or so, I realized that the handicap was plus money. And it's like, wow, it just felt, I had this strong feeling like Marcus McGee. I love Marcus McGee. I bet him in every single fight. It just felt like he was going to lose a competitive 29-28 just by Peter Yan just being the more experienced guy and just better hardware and maybe pressuring him a bit, and McGee not being used to someone that can pressure and tank all the damage from him. And yeah, so I basically reduced that. There was no way I was going to have a full unit of Marcus McGee. It felt like a slim margins kind of fight. So I reduced to half a unit, 300 to win 720. And then I was like, man, do I add another half unit on the handicap? If McGee loses 29-28, I win half a unit from the handicap, and then that breaks me even. I get my half a unit on the money line. But if Peter Yan somehow wins a 30-27 on one judge, I lose another $300 on the handicap too. So I was like, oh, what decision do I make? And ultimately, I didn't end up doing the handicap. And yeah, Marcus McGee won round 1 clear. And I was like, you know what? I'm happy with my bet. This is extremely competitive. Marcus McGee is legit. And round 2 was competitive too, but unfortunately, Yan landed cleaner. And it is what it is. So $300 there, donation. Kind of felt like a donation because I just felt like it was clear. It was really obvious what was going to happen there. But yeah, Icelandic farts. Hello, mate. Glad you can make it. So now we're down a unit, and it's like, how am I down a unit? Like, I only lost the Buchecha fight, and I won the Leal fight, and just all these reads have been right. But I'm like, whatever, it is what it is. So we get to the main event, and I mentioned I had a tough read on this main event, even after taping it extensively. And, as the time went on, I'm like, you know what? I'm always fading Robert Whittaker at chalk. Look, I've been saying for a while now, he's not worth this line. He's chinny, he's fragile. His wins, not aging that well, and his losses, to Adesanya twice, getting finished once, and getting finished by anyone decent, Chimaev, Duplessis. He's a bit overrated, Robbie, and he only really covers his chalky line is when he's like fighting stationary bums like Kevin Gastelum, Vittori, Paul Acosta, and if they're a little bit better, he's getting hurt. So I'm like, he almost went up to plus 150. So the reader is awkward, and I'm like, man, he can swamp him. He's got good cardio. His chin is underrated. He's a bit of a Gumby, but I'm like, whatever. I don't want to be down $600, a unit today. So I put half a unit to win 438 on the reader. I was like, whatever happens, happens. Let's just roll with the punches here, and let's see what happens. And yeah, what an exhilarating result. First 5 minutes obviously looked extremely square. But I was trying not to panic. I'm like, I knew this would happen. Robert is obviously the much better, cleaner, faster fighter, but I think the reader will just make it messy. And luckily, round 2, very dominant round, hurts him with a knee, takes him down easy. We haven't seen Rob on his back in a long, long time. Even Chimaev couldn't get him there. He just kept getting up to turtle. And then, just dominant round 2. And then the reader hurts him in round 3 and then gets dropped and almost finished. I was like, oh, no. And then Dorita takes him down, and I was like, all right, we're in this fight. And then Dorita wins a really competitive round 4, and I'm like, I'm like, this is going to come down to round 5. This is not a lock because they're both tied, they're both hittable. But ultimately, yeah, he got it out. Really good IQ from Dorita. So I put like another $100 on Whitaker at plus money because just to hedge a little bit. I don't want to lose I don't want to get to like 1K down just in case it was a split. And it was a split decision, so I don't regret that. So instead of 400, I won 333. So it got me down to 284 for the day. So yeah, in terms of positives and negatives, the biggest regret is just rushing things. People that know me, I usually leave things later in the week. I let things simmer. If I let it simmer, I probably wouldn't have bet Buchecha. I probably would have done, like round 1 and 2, half a unit, or maybe even round 1. I definitely wouldn't have played the money line on McGee. I would have just done half a unit on the handicap, and that would have cashed. So that's like a $600 swing. I would have not lost the 300, and I would have won the 300. So that's already profit. And yeah, that's and just a couple of the passes. Like the Guskov under 1.5, and the Ricci. I should have played that handicap on the Ricci, but yeah, that's it. Like as I said, I think we're in the period where there's some bad variance going on, and you have to tread very carefully with how you bet. Stick to locks. But ultimately, I'm not going to complain. Just lost $200 something. Like if we look at the month, this is one of my best months. I increased to 600 units, and we got 3.5K. Well, I do have one more bet going. It's a really square bet. It's Ryzen. It's the female fight on the main event. It's some random bookie that has half round props. If he goes over half a round, I win $265, which would put me at 3,500, which is 6 units, and that would put me at 8,600 for the year. So as you can see here, after 6 months, I was up 5K. So I almost made that in this month. So I'm still happy. It's my best month. And if you can see here in the totals, I'm almost on 200,000 for my whole betting life, 7 years. So I'll do something when I crack that. I'll do something. I don't know. I want to do some sort of giveaway to the people that were listening. I also want to do that when I break 1,000 subscribers. It's been 3 years, 4 years. I've been very slow with my growth and subscribers. My listeners have dropped off massively. I used to get 1,000 plus listeners with a guest. Now I get like 500, 600. So I'm not making any cash from it, but I'm just enjoying it. Like it feels like my audience is passionate and they're hardcores and they're not casuals and they don't just come and go quickly. Like they will listen every week. So that's what I care about, right? So just need $700 and we're on 20,000 all-time profit, 200,000 all-time profit in betting over 7 years. So can't complain. Good stuff. I'm always aiming for 10 units. So next month, August, September, again, those are the volatile periods. I'm going to aim for 10 units. Contender series is coming back. I can't wait. Gets me excited. Gets me very excited. So good stuff. Positive stuff. But in terms of LFA, I just ran out of time. I woke up. I was up from 2 a.m. I was going to tape it. Just passed out. And then same as Ryzen, I got that fight to go over half a round. Hopefully the chick doesn't submit her within 2.5 minutes. But what else did I like? I liked this dog that someone tipped in the Discord. I didn't play it. Shame. But yeah, is what it is. Let's go through the comments and I'll get out of here, right? Kiwi, wow, you won the Liao fight. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't hard to win if you just played the under 1.5 rounds or round 1 and 2. But yeah, greed is what does it to you. 6 Sound, Rob is washed. Rob is not that washed. He's been like that for years. And yeah, if you watch the Romero fight, it's the same thing. Yeah, Rob and Izzy both, in my opinion, have always been overrated. Right? If you wiki cap, then yes, they've always been overrated. Derrida, yeah, great work. That's Kiwi Brew. That's the one I'm proud of. Because you watch Rene Derrida's tape, and people say he's like DDP, but he's not, because DDP looked like an animal in KSW. He was like knocking everyone out. He's built like a brick shithouse, whereas Derrida looks like he's gonna get knocked out any second. He doesn't have the chin of DDP. So I was proud of locking that one in, just pinching my nose and just seeing the fight over 5 rounds. Hello, Tim. Thanks for listening, mate. Aussie fight fan, 200K is amazing. Yeah, look, as I said, I'm not one of those guys that's, makes thousands on parlays every week, or, the millionaires or the influencers. But what is that? 200,000 divided by 7 years, 28,000 per year over 7 years. But the issue is my first year, with $100 units, I only made 1.5K, which was like 12 units. So that first year kind of really holds my total down. But that was like a learning year. After that, we had the best year. And I mean, this year is still going. If I can finish on like 210,000, then yeah, all tax free in Australia. So, Kiwi Brew, I do love 2 a.m. starts. Get the lawns done. Yes, I like the last one. Last one that started at like 2, 3 a.m., but I had a lot more sleep. I think I went to bed at 9 a.m. and I was out. I was out in the city, and then I drank and I couldn't fall asleep. So I was a bit tired, but that's all right. Other than that, I'm just gonna watch a bit of Ryzen. I'm going to try and make some money on this Fury. There's Fury tomorrow, and also Anthony Pettis FC. So hit me up. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up if you're on the Discord. Let's find a couple more good bets before the end of the month. Try go to a couple more units. And yeah, the UFC next week. It looks really trash, man. These odds, I'm not excited to talk about it. Like all these odds, top to bottom, it's just chalk city, but not even good chalk. Like I don't feel like parlaying any of these. It's disgusting. But it is what it is. Thanks for listening. Peace out. Like and subscribe.